Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Business Casual. I'm Emma Henderson, Managing Editor of Aftermarket News, and with me today is Jennifer Holland. She is Assistant Vice President of Marketing for ASE. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. This is really exciting. Glad to be here.
It is very exciting because I think the topic we're discussing is something people hear a lot about, but we want to focus on how aftermarket executives can really value the certified technician, because we hear about them in the shop and everything like that, but why is it so important for businesses to keep investing in education and training, especially when we're facing a shortage right now?
Sure. So it's a great question. You know, at the core of it, the value of an ASE certified service professional is really someone who values their trade, takes heed in making sure that they have a baseline of knowledge and that they're doing things properly. It's their commitment to their expertise and quality in automotive repair. It's valuable to both the technicians and customers, offering increased career opportunity, higher earning potential, and a greater trust in service quality.
Absolutely. And so I am curious, this is all very technician in the bay, service related, but why should business executives care that their employees are ASE certified? So they might not see them every day. They might be even in branches of their offices, but why is it so important for them to have that certainty that the people they're working with have the certification?
I'll back up a little bit to why ASE was started, and it was formed from the industry, so it represents the entire industry, and it was formed to keep the government out of licensing jobs. And all of our tests, everything we do is built from the industry, so you have to have all of our workshops for our tests are comprised of different seats in the industry, and so that way they all have to agree, so it's a baseline for everyone. Our studies have shown that if you're ASE certified, that means 40% better shop productivity, which means more efficient project completion, 60% fewer comebacks, which is the work is done correctly the first time, 30% lower employee turnover, which, as we know in the tech shortage, is huge. It reduces training and recruitment costs, and then 20% higher earnings, which ultimately makes ASE certifications a valuable investment. It's also a legally defensible third-party certification because of how it's all built.
Yeah, and I was curious how the tech shortage is impacting companies' bottom line. You've already said how ASE can help it, but when they don't have enough people staffed, how can that really impact a company's ability to do the most that they would be able to do?
So it's all about a shop's capacity to be able to bring in more repairs through their shops. If you have a shortage of technicians, you can't bring that volume through the shop, which affects the revenue that you can bring in. So it's vitally important that we have more technicians to handle that capacity and reduce the customer's wait time. One recent high volume OEM actually did a study on wait time and found that depending on the type of service needed, wait times were in excess of 8 days. And that was just to get in the shop, not including the actual repair time. So you think about how that affects their bottom line. We're doing everything we can to help fill that pipeline.
It sounds pretty simple. Basically, if you have enough technicians, you're able to service more cars, put more parts in them, those keep the aftermarket going, and we're all happy, we're all bringing in revenue, and people are happy because their cars are able to be repaired appropriately at a quicker rate. Does that sum it up a little bit?
Yep.
So I am curious how you think companies can attract and retain the next generation. You said ASE certification, those people tend to stick around longer. So is it just a matter of getting more people to be certified, getting more people learning how to be technicians?
It is, and it's also, a big hurdle has been changing parents and students' perception of the trades as well. This is a very high tech career. Think about all the computer parts that are in vehicles now. So I think all of that has started changing over the past uh, few years. Think about back to the pandemic, and something that was brought out was that the automotive industry was marked as an essential industry. So that's a huge job security win right there, that all of us want, quite frankly. And the cost of the traditional 4-year college is insane. So think about if you can have a great career that without the crazy school debt. There's lots of different companies that can help to mitigate the tool costs. There's scholarships. There's aftermarket scholarships for schooling, tools, training, all of that, and then there's lots of different training programs. So I think that has been a big shift in trying to get the next generation to see this as a viable career. And, we have our ASE accredited programs through our ASE Education Foundation, which help bridge the gap between schools and careers in the industry. So there's a huge opportunity for growth and lifelong career in transportation industry.
Absolutely. And I am curious if you are starting to see that shift happen. You mentioned obviously during COVID, it really highlighted how important our industry is to keep everything moving and keep everyone able to do what they need to do. But are you seeing the conversations change around trade school? Are people looking more seriously into it as opposed to a 4-year college if that's something that they want to pursue?
Yes, and actually, it's funny. I got a call the other day from a national news reporter, and they were talking about they were doing an article on AI and how this is one of the industries that AI, you're not going to have AI do a brake job, right? So AI has great aspects and resources for different things, but there are certain jobs you cannot replace with that. And so luckily, we're one of them. So the fact that that's starting those types of conversations you're seeing on the national level, there's lots of different influencers. There's the micros and all that always spout it. So I think it's starting to gain a lot more traction, especially as, again, the cost of everything and the cost of the traditional 4-year schools are going up.
And the thing I love about it, I'm a little biased because this is the way my brain is. No day is the same wherever your office is. If it's a bay or wherever, you don't know it's going to come rolling through those doors. And so there's an appeal to having kind of a mini adventure every day with your work.
Yeah, I think that, like, in the age that we're in of social media and attention spans, that, I think it's something like you have 3 seconds to capture someone's attention in sort of a social media electronic world. Now you translate that into jobs and whatnot. A lot of incoming folks don't want the same mundane thing day after day. So having a career that is always changing and you don't know, what's going to capture your attention or what problem you're going to have to solve the next day is kind of exciting to them.
And then if you change your mind and realize maybe you want to work in an office, do something more corporate, you can stay within the industry. I mean, there are so many opportunities in the aftermarket.
Yes, absolutely.
That's great. So my final question for you in this section is, what is the importance of ASE certification? I think everyone in the aftermarket is familiar with it. We know what the little seal looks like, but why, like nuts and bolts, why is it important?
So it's really about consumer confidence. And we have been working with the industry to roll out some consumer campaigns and really get that message out. It's nationally recognized standards, but what it really comes down to is you wouldn't go to a dentist that wasn't certified, or a doctor or a lawyer or accountant. So why would you go to someone who has direct access to the safety of you and your family and anyone else on the road for that matter, who isn't certified and who doesn't have that isn't qualified, hasn't shown that baseline knowledge that they can meet and exceed standards. And again, given the complexity of today's vehicles, your safety and security depend on having someone qualified.
Absolutely. And I think, in an era where we're all looking for a cheaper, quicker option, that's not always the best choice, especially when you're dealing with, like you said, your safety, security. If you're going 70 miles an hour on a highway, that's not when you want to figure out that the person who was working on your car was not qualified.
Yes, exactly.
Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcox Media.
So you have had some excitement at ASE. We've had some transitions. We've had some new people come in, and you've called it blowing the dust off the brand. So I'm curious what you guys have done to do that. I know you mentioned something about surveys and feedback. So what kind of information are you looking for as you guys start this next chapter?
Yeah, so we have a new CEO as of last year. So he's already, in his second year. His name's Dave Johnson. He's been in the industry over 30 years. He came from Ford previously. And so he's been throughout his career, he's been in every step of our customers. He's been a working tech. He's been all of these different spots. So I think it's been really great to see his perspective because he has been on the other side. So he knows kind of how to help us shift. So again, I think it's things like partnerships. We've really been focusing on trying to connect with people, just the human element, and that we're not this ivory tower people that just make up, that there's only a couple people that make up the test, that it's really an industry collaboration. So he's really helped us bring that collaboration to light and open up some doors with us that way. So, and part of the surveys, so we did some surveys, started with the A series, and it was sort of a gut check to make sure that the tests and the content in the tests align with what is actually happening in the shops. So the great news is, for the most part, we are reflecting that. But some of the surveys did show that, that there are a couple of changes we'll be making to the questions involving items like engines and transmissions. So again, we want to make sure that it's just another layer of, like an onion. It's another layer of the onion that we're just making sure is correct. So the content is in workshops of the whole industry partners, and then now we're doing another double check after that. So just to make sure we're staying correct and relevant.
Absolutely, especially with how quickly car technology is evolving. I feel like that probably makes it even more important right now. So you also were telling me a little bit about accredited training providers. So walk us through, what is it important to know about an ASE accredited training provider?
Sure. So ATMC, which is the ASE Training Managers Council, they do something that's called a case accredited training provider. So again, it's training programs that go through to make sure that they're meeting a certain set of standards. And essentially, it just makes sure that that training provider, that is what techs are getting, effective training and the biggest bang for their buck. So again, it's another, because you hear anyone can spin something up and call it training, but you want to make sure that it's correct and it's not just, again, someone unqualified saying that this is how things are, that it goes to a national third-party standard.
So it's basically you guys checking up and saying, hey, these people know what they're doing. It's safe to learn from them. You will get what you need to get out of it.
Yes, exactly right.
All right.
Yep.
Well, we do something on this show every episode. It's called the Aftermarket 3. We ask people about 3 things. It could be a mentor or an event or even a job that you've had that has made you realize why you stay in the automotive aftermarket. So I am curious what your aftermarket 3 are, especially since you work with so many people who are just entering it for the first time.
You took one of mine earlier when you said no 2 days are the same, because that is something that I have. I've been at ASE now 18 years. So, and I can definitely tell you no 2 days have been the same. So, the industry is always changing. There's always new events, new people to meet, new connections to make. And I thrive on that change because, again, it kind of keeps me on my toes and I'm always learning. There's another thing is there's so many opportunities. Again, I'm in marketing for the industry, but there's everything from, again, a technician, social media folks, and everybody in between. So you don't have to be good at the one working on the vehicles to love the industry and see the value and love the people in it. That's been another thing. It's for such a huge industry. I feel like it's a small industry because it's like 3 degrees of separation. Everybody knows somehow is connected, I feel like, and you kind of never meet a stranger. Everybody's really kind and humble, and it's just a great group of folks to work around.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that pretty much sums it up. I met you when you came to visit here a few months ago, and we immediately got to talking, and then now you're on the podcast. I think that's just one example of, how people are willing to meet you and almost immediately get involved.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm so happy that you were able to join us. I think there's going to be a lot more discussions to come as different corporations and people try to tackle the technician shortage and help out in any way they can. But in the meantime, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you guys so much for watching.